Our neighborhood has a stigma. Somebody said, can anything good come out of Brightmoor?
George Bush said it at a mayor's conference.
President George Bush came to Detroit in the summer of 2001, not long before 9/11, talking about the Brightmoor neighborhood and how a faith-based initiative changed one man's life. A generation later, a recent fall weekend on the West Side City Covenant Church and Mission City Center, where neighbors hear a new approach to fixing a community's problems, especially with the children.
We want to welcome everybody to our first Brightmoor Healing Day.
This was our official kickoff to the things that we've been working on and talking about and collaborating with for almost 2 years. It's kind of the culmination of the conversations that we've been having for a while.
That we're coming together as a community and as a city and starting to really seriously examine the subject of trauma and, more importantly, healing.
In Brightmoor, we have the Brightmoor Education Action Team, where we're a group of parents, students, educators. We come together and we held some listening sessions last year. And we found out from the community that the biggest barrier to a quality education in Brightmoor is in fact trauma.
Now we're finding out that more people are suffering from trauma than we thought. Events like today help us come to grips to, first of all, the normalcy of trauma. That it's not this little hidden thing, that actually every family is affected by it in some way, shape, or form.
Brightmoor has changed since the president's speech. Blight, abandonment, although plenty are still here, keeping the neighborhood going.
Brightmoor is 16 square miles, one high school.
Brightmoor resident Jonathan Clark leads a tour of young musicians, mostly college students, getting their first look at this part of the city. Their program's called 7 Mile Music. They come to teach local children each summer.
There's a ton of good being done over here. It's still not a place that I would consider sending any of my children to get a quality education.
While Clark and his wife Dawn have been working to make life better for Brightmoor kids, he came to realize childhood trauma, or a more clinical term heard these days, ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, stand at the heart of the problem.
When I graduated from high school, went straight to the Army. Did my Iraq, did my war, came back home. It took me 7 years to admit that I was dealing with trauma. Then I asked myself, what about these kids?
The music classes can challenge these teachers. Not that the children aren't bright, but attendance, behavior, it's not the same as with kids from more affluent surroundings.
These kids are not bad. These kids are simply a mirror of what they live with and what they live through. I was working at this private Catholic high school, and I had to rush this kid home from school early because the secretary was like, somebody just killed your mama.
The student arrived to see his mother's boyfriend take his own life in the front yard.
Trauma is hard to talk about. Not because people don't want to talk about it. They don't know how to talk about it. They don't know how to express that pain.
Studies show children with ACEs doing poorly in schools. No surprise. Leading to more substance abuse, more heart disease, and more depression when they become adults. Experts say dealing with ACEs requires nurturing relationships between generations, building social connections. That's part of the program at Healing Day.
The research indicates that the biggest kind of buffer for children who have experienced trauma is the consistent presence of a caring adult.
Yeah, this Brightmoor, mama.
Healing Day provides some humor for attendees.
I feel good.
Yes.
Comedians Coco and Martini Harris get some laughs, but mostly stay on message.
I just want to tell the young black men, man, don't be ashamed, don't be afraid to open up and talk about it, you know? Yeah, I'm so serious.
It's a message not only for the youth, it's also a message for the parents, because we as a parent still have to be taught to deal with our youth, just like youth has to be taught how to receive from a parent.
Where you are and what goes on is based on what you say. So when you say your kid's bad, you reap that result.
City Covenant Pastor Samil Thomas sees Healing Day like the start of a marketing campaign, creating awareness with a lot of work to come.
So these type of events help soften and prepare people for when we get into the more difficult and more challenging questions wrapped around trauma, wrapped around the causes of it. And so it's a great event.